I got. I'm pretty stoked about that.
Oh, I think I have the exact same model. Everyone in the world seems to have the exact same model, and I got linked a video by PewDiePie, just completely shitting on this model of Blue Yeti, which is very popular now. He hates them, so now I'm insecure about my choice. If PewDiePie doesn't like it, how can I move forward as a
I,
podcaster?
I know, like I've got to have PewDiePie's approval. He's the be all and end all. But the other thing that I wanted to say was I'm glad I'm getting a chance to talk to you. I've wanted to talk to you for a while. I actually just talked to a guy from Vice yesterday, and he said,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah, no, it was an hour and 45-minute phone call, man. And I just told him the complete story, just like from day one to present.
Can
And
I
it was
ask what his name was? The guy from Vice?
Matthew Galt. He said he had talked to you.
That might be true. That may be a true statement.
No, he was like, uh, hold on, I got a notification from Discord. He was like, he was like, yeah, I talked to the guy who owns Kiwi Farms. And I was like,
Well, I'm glad I have friends in high places. I've been networking.
yeah. Oh man, the GBS Discord, they're mad that I went on the Lowtax thread last night. Oh, that's all right. You can't please everybody, right? Like
The
you know.
GBS Discord. I thought it was a forum. They have Discords now too.
Oh man, there are so many Discords, dude. I'm in like five.
If
Like,
if
cause the
if
what's that?
Jeffrey doesn't appease those people, they will just split apart into their own little Discord servers. So that's what happens with everything these days, pretty much.
Man, I hate the Discord service though, man, because it's got a bunch of permabanned people who are like still bitter for some reason.
Oh,
Um,
and they have people who like them running it.
yeah, yeah, like, and they have their own little in jokes. It's not the same, and hopefully Jeffrey can get things, squared away. It's a long process. I'd like to be involved going forward, but it's all up in the air right now.
Yeah, hold up. Let me announce it, and then I'll go live. Because we're already pretty much getting into it. Are you ready? Just to make sure.
I am ready. Yes, let's do this.
Okay. All right. Hopefully, I haven't fucked anything up. It's been a while since I've streamed, so the chance, like, there's already like a 50-50 percent probability that I will completely mangle launching the stream every time I stream. But now that I haven't done it in a while, that's at least like a 90% chance.
Hey man, sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something, right?
Not the expression I would use, but I guess it works.
Well, I can't stream. I've never streamed, so you're doing better than me. Um, that's true.
I'm at least doing better than Lowtax right now, which is has always
Oh,
been, for at least for a while, my barometer for success.
being better than Lowtax. Wow,
Yeah,
that's such
I've
a
set the bar.
low bar.
Yeah, as you said, you got to suck at something first before you can be kind of good at it, right?
Well, in his case, he just never gets better. It's
So, for
yeah.
people listening, because a lot of people probably aren't 100% tuned in or don't follow the low tech stuff closely, because a lot of people from my sphere aren't goons. So just real quick, what is
Yeah.
your association with something awful, and what is your association with low tax?
Um, okay, so first of all, my name is Logan Day. Uh, at Something Awful, I was the COO. People kind of joke that I had a very, I was like a pixel pusher kind of job because I was also in a committed relationship with Lowtax.
From my memory, and my memory is poor, so feel free to correct me. But what I remember was Lowtax fervently denying at the time when he went out to Utah. that you guys were not in a relationship and it was strictly business. Was that true then?
No. I will say, however, that there was a script, because that was our cover story, right? Is that he was coming out to pitch a script because I have experience pitching scripts. Somebody actually asked me from Kiwi Farms about that. But anyway, he had a script called Cybertroll 2000 that I thought was funny, and I had a guy who was interested in investing in indie film, and it was, it was an absolute disaster trying to pitch that script. But that wasn't the primary reason. No.
Um, so am I allowed to say the name of your company, the one that you emailed me from?
Yeah, Giants in the Sky.
Yeah. Is that the company that you used to pitch the script of this?
No, actually. So I kind of pivoted, because I was working in Hollywood. I worked at Disney and Sony, and I just wasn't really feeling the whole corporate thing. So I decided to start my own business doing like creative for advertising marketing. I'm also a developer, so I make a lot of websites.
What language do you use? Just
I
out of
well,
curiosity.
JavaScript. Sorry, I don't know why I stuttered there. JavaScript completely. I'm really shitty with backend, so it's like,
It's mostly design work, cause
yeah, but I really enjoy UI and UX.
mhm.
And so I would say, yeah, primarily front end for me.
So the Giants in the Sky company was the PR company that you ran that was going to be taking over, kind of refurbishing of Something Awful, and Lowtax. Did he meet you through trying to find a PR person, or did he know you on Facebook or?
Yeah, we actually met because I found his Facebook profile through a mutual friend. It's actually kind of a funny story, that he pissed her off with a joke about suicide, and she didn't find it very funny. And I was like, "Holy shit, is this the Rich Kayenka?" Because the last time I thought about Rich Kayenka was like when I was 16, 17, after I stopped posting on the forums. So I was like, damn, this is kind of a blast from the past. And so I started, commenting, engaging with his posts. And we didn't start talking until the actual post said something along the lines of, why don't people recognize just how great my posts are? And I was the first comment, and I said something. I don't recall exactly what I said, but I said something along the lines of, um, well, maybe people would kiss your ass more if you acknowledge your orbiters more. And he was like, what's an orbiter? And so I had to explain. And I distinctly remember this. His reply was, let's orbit, baby. And
And that's all it took. That was the line that reeled you in. You're like, ooh, this guy's got what I like.
no. Well, his wife showed up in that thread, and I forget what she said. It was basically like a back off message, and I was like, okay. And so I messaged him, and I was like, hey, is your wife mad at me? And he replied, probably. And I was like, well, let her know I'm sorry, And we genuinely just started talking casually, and we talked casually for like a month or so before we got into like the heavy shit of.
Well, that answers actually one of my questions I was going to ask. Was like, did you know that he was in a relationship when you met him? But I guess that kind of answers itself. Out of curiosity, did the fact that he have a wife make him more appealing?
No, see, all right. He lied. He's a very good liar. He is a very good liar. The way he put it was that he was actually very public about this on his Facebook, that his wife never fucked him. And in his explanation to me, he said that it's an absolute loveless marriage. It's the absolute, and they had already agreed on a divorce. It was just a matter of like stagnation at that point. Um, and I never talked to his wife, but I just bought this all hook, line, and sinker, because I was like, you know, and it's like, yeah, they were still married at the time, and obviously looking back, it was a real bitch scumbag move of me to like have an affair with this guy. It's just that I bought that lie that they were already planning on a divorce. At the very least, they were, preparing to separate.
Mm.
And yeah, I realized that I fucked up big time with that. I guess I earned the title of homewrecker. um, but the reality of the situation was that um, well, you said people don't exactly know the story, so can I kind of hash out kind of what resulted? Because you briefly mentioned he came to Salt Lake City to see me.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, sure. So the story thus far is that you guys met on Facebook because you were a fan of Something Awful when you were a teenager. You recognized him, you started talking to him, and he sort of, I guess you kind of reached out to him and he reciprocated. And then after his wife interjected, you guys kept talking. And then eventually he flew out to Salt Lake City. Was there anything significant that happened between those events?
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about um, how we grew up and that we had a lot of trauma. I it's no secret for people that I'm a little bit troubled. I have bipolar disorder diagnosed, and so I've struggled with that for a long time. And thankfully, it's managed now. I will say that. But we talked about trauma. Let's see what else. I guess the big catalyst was like late October, early November. My therapist of 2 years, I was doing therapy for like DBT therapy because I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Can you
It was a
explain
very
what DBT is?
DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy and is considered the only treatment for borderline personality disorder. And I had a very intensive treatment for that. I was very obsessed with overcoming those symptoms. And I was in therapy for 2 years, and around late October, early November 2019, my therapist sexually assaulted me. And it was extremely traumatic. And I wasn't telling anyone. But I told Rich for some reason because I didn't super know this guy. He was just like, I was like, there's no consequence if I tell this guy, right? Like if I told my friends, then they might
Yeah, they might
freak
judge
it.
you. There might be some response. They might push you to do things you don't want to do, as opposed to Rich,
Yeah,
who's a safe bet.
yeah, that was exactly my thinking. And I told a few of my friends, and some of my friends were like, "Wow, that's fucked up. That sounds like some HBO shit." Whereas Rich, his response was, "You need to report him." Like he seemed genuinely concerned for my mental health. He was the only person who was like, "Wow, this is incredibly fucked up. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You deserve better than that. You need to report him." And he was really adamant about it because I didn't want to report my therapist, because I didn't want to, ruin the guy's life,
Yeah.
and Rich was really adamant about it. And it was, when he flew out here to Salt Lake City, I went to the licensing board and spoke with the investigator. And Rich was sitting outside waiting. So that was the big catalyst, is when he gave a shit about me being assaulted, and then you know really pushing me to do the healthy thing.
Did you guys have a plan to have a physical relationship in Salt Lake City before he arrived?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, just curious. So, yeah, I think from what I understand, what I mean, I think it's all speculation. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure, based on what people have said, that him being away over Thanksgiving in particular is
Mm.
what pushed her to try and. I forgot until now that she didn't just leave him. She didn't just file for divorce. She fled the house. Like she took the kid and just left the house over the Thanksgiving holiday. And when he came back from Salt Lake, she was gone. And that's when the one of my favorite streams that Rich ever did was the one where people were asking questions about why his wife was in a battered woman shelter, and he was having fun on YouTube. That's probably the peak of gaming garbage, but
No, the peak of gaming garbage was when he did live bans on
that was the same stream.
January 1st. Oh, really? Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
keep going.
I mean, I guess it was a little bit after, but it had been brewing kind of. It was one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things, like a precursor to Lowtax being kind of kicked out of something awful. Was
Uh-huh.
this divorce stuff going on? So after, I'm trying to remember, when did you move from Salt Lake City to live with Lowtax?
Okay, so all right. So Rich showed up on November 14th, and he was here until I want to say no November 26th. Yeah, November 26th, because it was like November 24th or 25th that he learned that his wife had fled to a domestic violence shelter. And so he flew back home, and then I flew out to meet him on the 27th. So he and I spent
Wow.
Thanksgiving together on the 28th. And I was out there pretty often, you know. I would say I would spend a month at a time, and then I would come back to my apartment here in Salt Lake City for 3 weeks or something, and I would go back out. I was spending a lot of time in Missouri for sure.
So literally, like the day he came back to where he lives, he flew you out to be with him, and you stayed there for a month.
Um, yeah, I didn't spend Christmas with him. I do know that Christmas and New Year's were not spent together.
Was he paying for the flights?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So during this time, during the honeymoon period, were there any problems? Because this is when I remember you coming on board and people trying to warn Lowtax, don't do this. This is a mistake. And he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no. This is a brand management, strictly business. He made very public announcements about you coming on board as the chief operating officer, the CEO.
Yeah.
And from actually, to your credit, from what I've learned from people who are moderators and admins on Something Awful, apparently you did do the best job of trying to corral people together, the staff, to talk to each other than Lowtax had done in the prior decade. So, I mean, it's
Huh.
not. That's what I've been told. Does that line up with what you understand?
Well, that's very kind of them to say that. Yeah, I had a team of 22 people that I dealt with directly on a Slack. It was writers, developers. You know, I was interacting with the people who make the apps, the awful apps. I had some social media people. And you know, obviously I was an admin. I was an admin strictly to be able to make announcements. I did
Mm.
absolutely no moderating. I had no interest in moderating, but I had access to the mod forum, and you know, people were rightly suspicious of me. You know, who wouldn't, right? Who's this? Who's this random 25-year-old girl who is probably a little unhinged? You know, what is she doing here? And you know, I also made an ass of myself in front of the community a few times, because my my method is to fail really hard over and over and over until, you know, I get it right. And so I started. I mean, it was kind of funny when I first started working, because there were all these people that were doing things for something awful that Rich never acknowledged. He never talked about them. I sent out a call for the front page, who wants to write, and people were sending me proposals, but then there were also, they were like, hey, have you talked to this guy? Because he does Photoshop Friday. And also that I forget how I learned about Jeffrey of Yasbos, but I learned about Jeff and I was like, wow, okay. So Jeff is the one effectively running this website. Got it. And Rich literally never said that until I had to figure it out for myself. So I really interacted a lot with Jeff. Jeff's a cool guy, and all of these conspiracy theories about Jeff, being a front man for Lowtax or something like that. No, it's Jeff.
To clarify, Lowtax has sold Something Awful LLC to Jeffrey of Yazbos, and there are conspiracy theories that the arrangement is that Jeffrey will de facto own it, but contractually he'll be obligated to pay a percentage of all Something Awful LLC proceeds to Lowtax forever. Now, there hasn't been any kind of like publication of contracts or anything. I don't know if anything's been made formal yet, but no. From everyone that is talking in any capacity of having knowledge of this, they're all denying it. It's one of Jeffrey's big promises to Something Awful is that Lowtax will in no way, shape, or form benefit from Something Awful moving forward, except for the proceeds of the sale. Correct?
That is my understanding. I firmly believe that Something Awful going forward will be owned by goons. I almost see it as like a flat organization, where it's like a workers collective, for lack of a better word. I hate to use that very politically charged term, but because the moderators and the admins, they've been working for years for free, and they've been running this site for him. So no, Lowtax will not benefit. And at this point in time, they have signed a non-compete contract kind of thing where Jeffrey has 90-day exclusive rights to purchase Something Awful LLC, but no actual purchase has been.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. When you say non-competition clause, though, are you saying that Lowtax can't then immediately start up, somethingawfuler.com and try to run that? Or are you talking about like the exclusive rights to the purchase only?
Yeah, I meant exclusive rights. Sorry, okay. I don't mean to be confusing. I will say that I was negotiating with Jeffrey briefly because he wanted to invest in Something Awful, we kind of went back and forth on numbers.
What was he hoping to get out of in return for his capital? Was he hoping for some kind of rights or advertising or?
Well, he would obviously get, part of the percentage of the profits. And we kind of were hashing that out for what investment for what percentage of profits, but he was primarily concerned, I would say exclusively concerned, with being able to run the forums. He basically didn't want Lowtax to be
doing anything, interfering with his decisions.
Yeah. Like his explanation was, Lowtax and I can work together on things, but he doesn't have veto power anymore. And I was like, yeah, that seems reasonable to me, especially because Jeffrey loves the forums. I'm talking I've talked to a lot of people associated with Something Awful, and Jeffrey is the most unselfishly committed to that website. He didn't buy this site because he sees it as a good business opportunity. I didn't start doing the work because I saw it as a good business opportunity. I just think it's it's a very unique community, and I think that there's a lot of talent amongst goons, and I wanted to be able to promote that. And Jeffrey wants to do the same.
I don't know a whole lot about Jeffrey. Is he like politically aligned with the rest of Something Awful? Is he very, this new progressivism? Is he with the?
I don't know. To be honest, Jeffrey is a very private person. There's, you know, there's not a whole lot that I know about Jeffrey. I do know he's a good guy. He cares a lot about the forum, so I think people should trust him.
Well, that's something that I was actually thinking about. Is I don't know anything about Jeffrey, but chances are we're probably going to learn a lot about Jeffrey, because once his name is all over contracts and the new owner of the LLC, like all of that's public information. And I hope for his sake that he's ready for the kind of scrutiny that gets attached to something like that, because I mean, like I don't think I've seen any pictures of him. I don't think I've seen. I'm sure maybe he's posted them. Maybe they've been posted on the thread. I don't have a mental image for him. But you can see, you can see over time what kind of scrutiny and publication of personal stuff that Lowtax has been exposed to. And if Jeffrey isn't ready, he may find the ownership aspect to be a lot less fun than he hopes it is.
I hear what you're saying, but also you have to understand that Rich Kayenka loves attention. It doesn't matter what kind of attention, good, bad, he loves attention. This is something that he's said publicly. So, and I'm going to repeat it, is that Rich, when talking about Kiwi Farms, would say, nobody would be that obsessed with me unless they wanted to have sex with me. I was like, that's an interesting point of view to have. Okay.
Well, that's like a common deflection. That's what people go to immediately. If you start talking about someone in any detail, it's like a quick go-to response that a lot of people have. Like, oh, you're just like into me. You're sexually attracted to me.
See, that's not something that I've ever assumed, because I've been pretty heavily scrutinized. I've been doxxed a little bit. And I never assumed people wanted to have sex with me. I think that people are just intrigued by all of these very unhinged people, because Rich Kayenka is, he's not all there, just like me. Jeffrey, on the other hand, he's like a rock. He doesn't like attention. He's strictly professional, and so I think under his ownership, the whole concept of, head of Something Awful will be very different.
So there's not going to be a rebound with Jeffrey after Lowtax is gone?
Oh, God. I want to be single for a while, man, because I've got a lot of, recovery and healing to do. It's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, I bet. Do you have any idea how much he paid Lowtax for? There's a rumor that Jeffrey is independently wealthy because of cryptocurrency. And I'm curious if that's true, and I'm curious if you have any idea what a ballpark would be for how much was paid for Something Awful.
The Bitcoin thing is bullshit, first of all. And second of all, I don't know how Jeffrey has his money, but I'm kind of torn on, how much I can say, because like I said, Jeffrey's very private, and I don't want to, air his business. But in our negotiations, it was definitely in the lower six figures.
That's pretty good. Though not necessarily good enough to live off of. Not for most people, it wouldn't be enough to coast off of for the rest of your life, for sure. But for Lowtax in particular, he had been earning over $10,000 a month for, I think, the entirety of 2019, and now he'll be getting a lump sum of cash, but that would last even if it was like $250,000, that's like 2 years of what he's accustomed to at this point, right? Was he spending as much as he was making when you were with him? Do you know?
I don't know all the details of his spending, but I know the Something Awful financials. I know exactly how much Something Awful makes, and combine that with his Patreon. He was pulling in a good 20 grand a month at least.
Wow, really? The
Um,
site itself makes that much?
the site itself doesn't make that much. In April, the site made 15 grand because I think there was a talks thread where people said, if Bernie doesn't get the nomination, I'll self ban, and then they all re-regged, and it's like, yeah, it was 15 grand. On average, the site makes like 6 grand a month, and then advertising makes another that grand on top of that, and that was something that I was working on a lot. So whenever Rich says that I didn't have a position, it's like, just talk to the I was the only person talking to the ad people. I even talked to Kevin Bowen, Fragmaster, because he works for Hearst doing programmatic, and he and I talked ad stuff because he used to do ad stuff back in the aughts.
Yeah, I mean, there is a demand for an ad network like that. Like, if you guys publish ads on the Kiwi farms, I would fucking do it in like a heartbeat, because I miss a lot of income by not having publishers, for ad networks. And I'm not saying that you guys would be able to do that. I'm just saying that there is a demand for that, for niche, especially ad networks that are more targeted towards certain audiences.
Yeah, man, if I were in a position to do business with you right now, I would do it.
Oh no, I
uh,
think I think I've learned my lessons.
oh yeah.
So to get back to the timeline, I think we're about up to December. So December he spent without you. You were back in Salt Lake, right?
The end of December.
The end of December you came back.
Yeah.
So were you there for the New Year's stream?
No, 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 no. I was not. I watched it. I was sitting in my apartment. It was funny because I was hanging out with my neighbors. We were having a party, and I was like, because Rich had me as a moderator for gaming garbage, and so I would go in and kick all the Kiwi Farms guys, and so I was like, I gotta bounce and do this stream, and it was so funny. Uh, that stream was impossible to moderate. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Well, what has happened since June 24th is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But the January stream was, I don't know, because he was super bummed because none of his children were around for Christmas,
Mm,
and
yeah, that
um,
sucks.
yeah, it sucks big time. And I guess he was bored or something, and he just, you know, I don't know what happened that everybody from Kiwi Farms, and probably something sensitive as well, just hopped on that stream, and it was like rapid fire.
Well, you're talking about like from moderating the stream, but he's done this before. I've actually had a conversation with Ashley because a
Oh,
long time ago during the Schmorky stuff, uh,
ah,
that's when Lowtax was posting on the forum, and I got into a call with him and Ashley was trying to encourage him to take possession of the site more closely.
yeah.
And I spoke to both of them, and she really, really wanted me to give him advice on how to rein stuff in, and because
Huh.
he seemed genuinely passionate about fixing something awful, because in the something awful threads, when people were making fun of Schmorky, they would frequently, because he was like a pedophile, they would frequently disrespect preferred pronouns and all this stuff. And there was like a very serious disagreement in the something awful community if it was okay to make fun of, if it was okay to dead name and misuse pronouns for an actual like child attracted person like Schmorky, who's just like a clown. And Lotax was so pissed off by this, he really wanted to see some sort of change in something awful. So during this sort of uplift, I spoke with him and I spoke with Ashley, and it led nowhere, because what happened is when he started to try and say we're going to change and we're going to be more like how we used to be, we're going to be funnier, we're going to be less politically correct, he got a lot of pushback, and
Mm.
the moment he gets any pushback, he seems to completely collapse, because she's like, he won't talk to me, he storms out of the room, he goes to collapse on the sofa, and then he's just out for the rest of the day, and there's no getting to him.
Yeah. No. When was this conversation, by the way?
Ooh, I don't know. It was right after the Schmorky stuff. I don't like things move so
So,
quickly that I forget the
so
dates.
a few years ago, at least. Um,
Yeah, I want to say 2018. I don't know if that's right. I don't want to commit to any date though, because I'm bad with memory.
okay. Well, the only reason I ask is that when I knew the guy, he did absolutely jack shit. I tried to do a brand discovery session with him, actually. Because I was like, okay, you say that something awful needs to change. Like, let's really define the brand and kind of, you know, go from there. And it was so depressing just how little he gave a shit. He had no creativity, no imagination about what something awful could be or even what it is. He just said that the forums are too angry. And, it just bummed me out because the guy did nothing with this business.
Yeah.
It had lapsed for a decade at least. And so I saw the gold mine of something awful to be the community. That's why I reached out directly to the community to see who wanted to write. A lot of people wanted to write that I didn't actually bring on, didn't answer their emails, or it was just weird in emails. It was because it was super overwhelming. So you got to understand, in the beginning, Rich likes to have control. And in the beginning, when it came to the writers, he was like, hey, if you like their writing, forward it to me and I'll say yay or nay. So I would do that. And sorry, window popped up. I would do that and he would never read it. So at a certain point, I just said, can I just approve it, yay or nay, myself? And he said, sure, whatever. And so that's how I started building my team. And oh man, Fizz Khalifa, no people who haven't been paying attention to the forums as much as I have, they won't know that guy's name, but he was one of my writers, and I thought it was hilarious what he did with 2 articles around all this. But anyway, I digress. What I meant to say was when I actually started getting a lot more authority, I had ads authority from the beginning because I'm experienced with ads. But I remember he was driving me back to the airport to head back home to Salt Lake City.
When was
And gosh, I want to say like the end of January, February, somewhere in there. And I just on a whim turned to him and I was like, hey, Rich, I know you don't like doing any of the business stuff with something awful, and I know it's a pain in the ass for you. So I was wondering if I could just take over. And he was like, yeah, sure. And it was not any kind of, I don't know. I guess you could say I wormed my way in. I finessed my way. But it was really just a matter of like, I felt really passionate about this website, this business. I know how to run a business. And, I guess that's what the moderators, admins, some of the writers had said, it's like, I did put some effort into creating some semblance of structure. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah. So, whenever I think of Lowtax, I think of, I guess, how Ashley described him when he gets pushed at all. Just someone who's really, really high on painkillers all the time. I don't I mean, I know the box wine thing is like a meme. I don't know if he drinks. I would assume not. I would just assume that he's like strung out on painkillers. Is that like a good representation of how he is on a day-to-day basis?
It's like I don't want to shit talk the guy. Um, it's like, he went on a podcast, the Dick Masterson podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
he really laid into me. It was kind of rough. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, really awful things about Lowtax, but he did take a lot of medication, and
Is it all
he
for physical ailments, or did he take like I don't know. If you don't want to answer that, that's fine. But is
no,
it
he
like
takes psych meds too.
for like anxiety?
Anxiety, and he takes an antidepressant.
Oh, oh yeah, he's mentioned that before. So I mean, I guess is the gold belly thing true? The buying the expensive pies all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my god. Like, okay, he would just get bored and order $500 worth of. He really got into cookies at the end. That was like, before it was like pie in a bag, and we would get cakes. And at one point there were these like, I don't know, like cupcakes in a jar. That was kind of cool, I guess. Um, and then he really got into cookies from a company called The Cravery, and he had a subscription with them. Man, like he got and they have a monthly cookie box, so we got that every month. And then he also ordered, like at least 4 or 5 more boxes on top of it. Each one of those like $60.
Is he fatter than he
And
looks? Because he doesn't look like in the New Year's stream. He really didn't look that fat because he stood up to show his pig pants off. He didn't look that fat. Is he like fat now?
um I mean, he's got a middle-aged dad bod, I'll say that.
Gross. um. Okay, so there was a time when this was happening. By the way, just for people who don't follow it, that he and his mom, I guess, were cleaning up your room, and he showed a picture on Facebook that was a trash bag full of like artisanal beers, like
Mm.
really fancy like microbrewery stuff, and then like a right on top, picture perfect, is like a box of antipsychotics that don't jive well with
It was actually the information packet.
okay, yeah, it was the information packet for some kind of antipsychotic medication, and his statement was something like this is what you were doing, and you were drinking a lot, mixing it with this antipsychotic, which shouldn't be mixed with alcohol. So the immediate retort from someone on the forum that I remember very vividly is that those brands of beers are popular with men, and not really the kind of thing that like a woman, especially a young woman, gets fucked up on. So I'm curious what the story is with the beer and the antipsychotics that the picture was of.
Okay, so it's true. I do take an antipsychotic called Latuda. It is for bipolar depression. And it is true that for bipolar people in general, and especially when you're on these kinds of medications, that you should not drink. However, I will firmly, until my death, state that I am not an alcoholic. I mean, I guess I can say that and people will believe what they want, but I had a beer like maybe once every other day. I just had like, I just kept them upstairs, and it's like like you said, I wasn't getting fucked up. Like, the events of June 22nd and 23rd, I remember vividly. I sound really fucked up in that recording. I don't know if everybody who's listening to this has heard the recording that Rich made of me
Rich recorded you and him having a conversation. I think it was like 10 minutes long, and both of you sound extremely tired, first and foremost, and also kind of drunk.
Yeah, so I was actually on Ativan. So I'm prescribed Ativan for um, panic attacks. And that day had been, I mean, there's a whole story behind it, but that day had been extremely contentious. Earlier, I had taken 2 milligrams of Ativan and slept for most of the day. And then I woke up and I took another Ativan and I started posting on Kiwi Farms.
Well, that's the best thing to do. That's the prime
Well,
time posting. Just ask the people who post there.
I'm just so uh, frankly, I took too much Ativan. I should not have taken that much Ativan. That was dumb. And I don't take Ativan every day. It was just one of those really, really awful days. And then I remember shortly after I took the third Ativan, and then I was in the midst of posting, and then Rich texted me. He was like, "I want to get dinner. I want soup." And I was like, "Okay." So I went downstairs to like talk about dinner, and that's when we got into the conversation, and that's where the recording came from. So yeah, I'm a little strung out on benzos in that recording.
There was immediately after the fallout, when the Patreon started dropping, you kind of flipped back and forth publicly, and these weird statements that made everyone either believed one or two things. They either believed that you were being coerced by Lowtax into posting these things, or they believed that you were trying to make people believe that Lowtax coerced you into posting those things. So I'm curious, why in the 72 hours after things started going south really bad publicly, you made several statements saying that you love Lowtax and you were sorry, didn't mean to ruin his life, that you were a liar, and what spurred those on?
All right. So I'm not a psychologist. However, I was in a relationship with this man for something like 7 or 8 months, and I think he has a personality disorder. Now I can't say that for sure, but I have a suspicion that he has narcissistic personality disorder, and I had what is called a trauma bond with this man. So I was, he controlled a lot of my life.
Like
It was,
he paid you, he was your employer, your boyfriend. I guess you lived with him too, so he was like your landlord. Is that what you mean?
yeah, and also there were things that I, could and could not do. Like for example, I used to vape. I used to be into vaping, and he was like, "I don't like you doing that. You need to stop." So I did. I quit vaping. Like I just quit because it was like, if Rich says something, then I must do it. And I'm anyway. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find my words here because I don't want to be slanderous. I just want to present my perspective. You see, but what had happened was on June 22nd. It was a relatively normal day, and then the first incident happened that if you are not familiar with the first incident, you can read the police report. It's a pretty accurate summary of what happened. I spent the night at the Best Western about a mile away. I woke up in the morning and Rich had his epidural that morning. So in epidural, they injected corticosteroids into his spine. And I gave his phone a call. I wasn't feeling too good because, the night before I'd been struck in the face. And now I was in a hotel in a strange city. So I called his phone. His mom picked up and she said, we cannot have the police coming to that house. You need to leave. He needs to focus on his children, getting custody of his children.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point I started becoming hysterical and I was like, please just have Rich call me, because I had a lot of shit at his place still. Like I had like my laptop was there, a lot of expensive personal items.
How long had you been living there at that point, like continuously without being flown in and out?
I had been there since early May, and by this point it was late June. So yeah, because he flew me out to be his caretaker, because he had this spine thing, and it was, I mean, people ask if it's real, and it's like, I guess so. It's like he would say that it hurts.
Yeah, well, he would complain about pain a lot, is what you mean. But you can't.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not a doctor. You can't say with any certainty how real that was, or if it was just like, him as an excuse saying that.
Yeah, and I did a lot of work. I cleaned that house from top to bottom. There were days where I cleaned for like 7 or 8 hours straight. And I changed his bed sheets. I think on one post on Kiwi Farms last night, I said that I tried to unclog the toilet because he took this massive opioid shit. And I am a professional shitter. Like, I've clogged many a toilet in my life and time. And if I cannot unclog a toilet, you have literally shat cement. Like, that's a problem. You need help. Anyway, where was I going with this? You asked about I
had asked how long you had been staying there. Yeah, because I know at least in Florida, if you stay like a month at someone's place, you're legally a tenant, even if they hadn't charged you, even if you didn't have a contract. And you can't just tell someone to leave a place where they live. You have to give them at least a week's notice in Florida. But it depends. It's a state thing. So I'm not sure. Like, did you sort that out? Did you get like someone to guide you through the tenant system in that state?
No, because what happened is I came back the next day. This was June 23rd, and Rich was absolutely irate, and that's an understatement. He was screaming at me, and I was hysterical. I was like, please, Rich, let's just fix this. And then the second incident happened, and I know people are waiting for the second police report, but I'll say this. I have tried to acquire the second police report, and it cannot be released because there is an ongoing case. The police report will be able to be disseminated when the case is closed, hopefully on September 1st.
You mean an ongoing investigation?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the case, I mean, the case wasn't closed until there's like a judgment.
Exactly.
Or charges. I mean, for a case to be whatever. Anyways, yeah, people. I mean, what happened at the second incident? Because the first one I'm aware of, that he claimed you struck him in such a way that it caused him physical pain, and like some sort of action figure with a switch on his back, his limbs sprung to life and slapped you across the face. He got up and his toes were slippery, which is probably one of the best things that anyone has ever said. That he got up and his toes were slippery, so he fell forward and struck you across the face.
Yeah. Oh. It just, that doesn't jive well with my very vivid memory of being backhanded across the face, and I'm lying on the floor, and this man is standing over me, okay, just looking down, and I'm like, help! Somebody help me. And it sucked big time. But the second incident, I'm not going to go hugely into it, but I got a black eye. The cops were called yet again. He called the cops both times, I will say that. And the cops showed up. One of the same cops from the day before. She was like the head cop, I guess. I don't know. Both female cops both times. Interesting. But they showed up and they called the paramedics, and the paramedics gave me some ice for my eye, and they were like, you know, do you want to be examined for injury? And I said no. But that wouldn't be a problem because they drove me back to that's when they gave me my case number, and they gave me this pamphlet about domestic violence, and they drove me back to Best Western. I had all my shit with me this time, and I went to the Summit Grill next door, and I collapsed. I remember ordering chicken strips. So I love chicken strips, man. You just can't get enough. But it just went black. I don't know.
You blacked out. Did you get evaluated for concussion afterwards? Is that...
Yeah, they drove my ass to the ER.
Did they give you your chicken wings before they?
I got like one bite, dude. It was it sucked. But anyway, so I was in the ER. They did all sorts of tests on me, obviously, like blood tests, lab serum tests. But then I also got a CT scan, MRIs. They also examined my hand. But I was a little out of it. I don't remember much. I do remember talking to my parents, and but I woke up with a dead phone, and I'm in the ER, and they're not letting me leave until I don't know. I guess they just wanted to make sure that they wanted to observe me, and finally I'm getting ready to go, and they had diagnosed me with alleged assault. And I have the paperwork still from that. I have the freaking ambulance bill. But so I went back. What's that?
Put into a police report? Did you send that to the police?
No, actually. But
you haven't sent that to the police, and there's the ongoing investigation. You may want to do that.
I mean, the police know a lot. Like, I'm in very close contact with the detective and also the prosecutor.
Well, just not as a lawyer, but as a forum operator who enjoys public records, I would strongly suggest and request that you send those to the prosecuting attorney, if nothing else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I probably should. But anyway, so back to the story. I went back to the hotel, and I was tired as shit. So I was sleeping, and then my phone goes off, and it's Rich, and he says, "Your posts they're ruining my life. You have to do something. You have to fix this." And obviously, I felt terrible. I felt like it was my fault, and so I was like, "Okay, what should I do?" And he said, "Make a text post, say that you lied." And so I did. And I go back to sleep. I'm not even like checking social media at this point. And I get a call from Rich. He's like, "People aren't buying it. You have to make a video." And
yeah, I was going to ask about the video. It's about 3 minutes long. I'm not going to play it or anything, but it's, to sum it up, it's basically you in a t-shirt. I don't know if I can see a black eye. I do have it up in front of me.
I'm wearing makeup.
Okay, so you're in front of the camera. You have the phone up, and you sound on the verge of tears. I'm not sure if you're crying, and you're saying that you lied about the incident, and that you were drinking, and that's why it happened, which became the running narrative going forward. You mentioned on the Dick Show, and elsewhere, he's basically just called you an alcoholic who chronically mixes pills and alcohol, and that explains everything, and he hasn't done anything wrong.
Well, I mean, it's not just an alcoholic, but a crazy bipolar alcoholic.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you do explicitly say in the video that you are an alcoholic. You use that word.
yeah, because that's what Rich told me. That was the narrative that Rich wanted to push forward. Um, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. Um, you know, I've, I guess it's just like there's no way that I can like prove that. It's just that, he thinks I'm an alcoholic. I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I did everything possible to please that man. I did everything. And
So did he tell you like over the phone that you're gonna say that you're an alcoholic because that would help with the Patreon, help with the site?
yeah, he would tell me what the narrative was. He was like, "You were too drunk to remember. You don't know what happened. You lied. So here's the actual story." And that's when he told me the, toe slipping, falling to the ground thing. And, when you're in that kind of abusive relationship, you don't really know what's reality anymore. Like, I know what I experienced, I have the vivid memory, but I trusted Rich and I didn't want to lose Rich. So I was going to say whatever he wanted me to say. And making that video, oh God, I didn't want to make that video. That sucked so much.
Was
And
it
yeah,
just
I
like
was
a feeling of embarrassment, or like what were you feeling when you went into it?
the feeling was first of all utter despair, because my world was unraveling, and then second of all, fear, intense fear, because I felt like it was my fault that I was ruining this guy's life. That was not my intention. I didn't go. I When I made those posts, I don't know exactly what I was trying to accomplish, to be perfectly honest with you. But uh, I certainly wasn't trying to like completely upend this guy's life. And so I felt like a monster.
So any
And
conspiracy that you were trying to make people think that you were being coerced is wrong. He was genuinely asking you to help him in recovering whatever value he could extract from something awful.
yes,
Okay. So did you ever get your stuff back? There is a very burning question that I have coming up. Just in general, did you get your stuff back? Did you get out of the city? Are you back in Salt Lake?
yes, I'm currently sitting in my apartment in downtown Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful day.
I think people ask, are you a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints or a former member?
No,
No.
no, and I never have been. I'm actually from Los Angeles.
Okay.
I moved out here because my sister went to the University of Utah for video game design, and I wanted to be closer to her and other family, because it's just I was away from my family for so long and thought I'd come out here. But
That's
no,
cool.
I'm not Mormon.
So the burning question that I think a lot of people have, because she's becoming increasingly relevant once again, because she's handling affairs regarding his divorce, his custody, and also I guess in sweeping you up. What are your experiences with Lowtax's mother?
Oof. Um, Lowtax's mom. Um, well, she's a character. She is definitely a control freak. I don't think that's an overstatement.
Of people around Rich or of Rich directly?
Both.
Okay.
She and he resented her a lot for it. Like he considered his mom abusive, but he also relied on her a lot.
He
She's
currently lives at her at he currently lives at one of her properties, right? Because she's wealthy and she has multiple properties that that he.
Yeah, they have a nice freaking house.
So I mean, like, does she like how often? How often do they speak? Does she like stop by every day to check on them? Is that the
She
kind of
wouldn't stop
relationship?
by every day, but they would text every day,
Mm.
especially about the divorce. You know, Rich would do things that would piss her off. Like he really loved emailing his ex-wife, who he's currently going through a custody and divorce battle with, and she's like, she was like, she specifically told me, she was like, tell him to stop emailing her or I will stop talking to him. I was like, damn, that's quite the ultimatum, because they were thick as thieves.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's just like, he relied on his mom for just about everything, like um
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant like if he did not stop emailing her, then the ex-wife would stop all communication with him. So, but you mean that she threatened to walk out? His mom threatened to walk out on him if he did not stop sending Ashley, the ex-wife, emails.
that's correct. Sorry for the
Okay.
confusion.
No, no problem. That's my bad. So was he sending Ashley like unrequited emails just out of the blue about his feelings or what?
um Well, all he felt for her was anger. Like, he
Mm.
absolutely despises Ashley, and I know he absolutely despises me now. Um, but he felt, he used every opportunity he could to be snarky towards her, and obviously that doesn't look too good in court. Um, and obviously, just like now, the thing is, the reason I'm willing to do podcasts and posts and stuff like that is I don't have a civil suit that's going on. I might in the future, uh, but right now this is a criminal case, and so um, I am not the one being tried, and so I think I'm in a very unique position where I can share some things about Richard Kayenka that uh, previous partners, yeah, that's the word, have been unable to share. So, but also I don't want to come across as like I'm, you know,
You're not out
I
for him, or
no, and I hope you're not getting that impression. I mean, I know there are people who are going to dislike me no matter what, and I know that people are, some people think I'm just absolutely crazy. I know the BPD thing is a favorite. Um, I know on Kiwi Farms, like, it's the dislike for me is vitriolic, to say the least. Though there are some people who are really nice. But I'm getting Discord messages. People don't like that I'm on this. I guess everybody's listening. Hey guys.
oh, everyone at Something Awful is a huge fan of mine. Don't that's just them and their sarcastic goon humor trying to dissuade you from talking to me. I promise. Uh,
I don't know. It's like, it. Why am I doing this? I don't
well,
know.
out of
It's
curiosity, I mean, is it like that you want to make people aware of what Lowtax is like? Are you trying to like help something awful in a way? Is it a personal thing? Because I mean, what are your prospects coming out from this? If because he's said some pretty terrible things about you. Surely that must scare you for moving forward. You're like a young professional. Any kind of negative SEO for this kind of shit is going to hurt, right?
yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about my future. I think I want to pivot again, but
Are you done
I
with the PR business now?
well, it's like, I don't know. It's like you gotta live your life. You can't just stagnate. But also, I'm so over client work, man. Like, fuck client work. Anyway, why am I doing this? I think I would like to share my side of the story. Like, I talked to Vice yesterday. I told them pretty much what I'm telling you now. And
I'm glad you reminded me of that, because
and
he said that he spoke to Vice, right? And then you spoke to Vice. So I'm sure whatever Vice comes up with is going to be exciting, to say the least. Sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah,
cut you off.
and I know. I mean, I just got a Discord message that you're full of shit, and it's like maybe you are, maybe you are. I want. It's like, I'm in a position where I can't win, right? So I'm gonna do what I want. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm. Like, if people don't want to uh, support me because I talk to Null, or people don't want to support me because when I'm bored at 11 o'clock at night, I answer some questions on Kiwi Farms. Like, if you don't like that, fine. You know, Goons didn't like me in the beginning. Then they still kind of don't like me. A lot of people don't like me. So it's like, how do I win? And as far as I'm concerned, winning, if there is such a thing, is to share my side of the story and just kind of like let people know that you know I I'm not a crazy person. I don't know. When you talk to me, do I strike you as like particularly unhinged? I'm trying to be like honest with you, man.
Well, kind of. I mean, I do hold true to the stigma about BPD. I think that
Sure.
BPD is something that you have to have a lot of patience with. So I'm not
Uh-huh.
trying to guide you into saying anything. I have a lot of questions just because I'm curious about Lowtax. Um, and I think that you have a story to tell, which is why I asked you to share it, to kind of meet halfway. And I'm actually kind of interested in. I want to say that you've completely failed to give me an answer to what you want people to take away from you talking about low tax. Yeah, you didn't say it's necessarily to save yourself or to save something awful. It's not to spite low tax. So, I mean, is it just kind of boredom? Because that would be, I mean, that would be, to be fair, that would be a very BPD thing. Like, okay, I'm bored at 11 p.m. Let's have a talk with this weirdo who runs this weird forum that doesn't like either me or low tax. That would be pretty in line with my expectations
Um.
for that.
Well, alrighty then.
Well, I'm trying to
What?
be nice, okay? Believe it or not, I promise. I'm trying to be nice.
Uh, Man, I've lived with mental health stigma my whole life, and I've seen the insults I've seen lobbed my way. It is impossible to insult me anymore. I actually find it funny. One guy called me a fatso last night, and that I actually laughed out loud. That was fucking awesome. I also love Mormon BPD Kokor. That's a great
Well, that's
moniker.
the name you picked for the
Um,
Kiwi Farms, right?
yeah, well, my old account that I forgot to
No, I
log
merged
into.
them. You can log back into that one. I changed your email.
Oh, cool. Well, so what am I trying to get out of this? I, it was the same as why I got on Kiwi Farms last night. Like, I want people to kind of, uh, understand me a little better, because I was in this shadow of low tax, and it's like, I think oh god, I'm getting so many Discord messages. It's just like
Just mute it. Let's keep going.
well, it's All right, I'm going to be vulnerable for a second.
Okay.
And so the reason why Rich likes to call me crazy, or specifically say bipolar, is that that's like my biggest insecurity.
Is being seen as crazy?
Yeah.
So when people on the forum call you crazy, you feel the need to kind of defend yourself from that, right?
Sorry, I don't mean to.
Oh, it's okay.
I know it's embarrassing to fucking cry on it. Kiwi Farm stream. But yeah, like I've spent years, literal years, to stop being a toxic asshole. Um I've been in therapy for a very long time. I take my meds religiously. And yes, I'm a very eccentric person. And I'll always be a little troubled. But what people don't understand is that prior to meeting Richard Kayanga, my life was perfectly fine. I was living the normal life of a 25-year-old woman. And I was thrown into this world and I didn't know how to react. I still don't know how to react because I have anonymous people obsessing over my life. Like I went to my parents' house for my dad's birthday yesterday, and I was talking about you guys, and I said they know this address because they did my background check and they saw that my business is registered at this address. And my
Your
dad's like,
parents' address?
yeah. And they were like, my dad's like, oh shit, I gotta get a gun. um, but
That's the American way.
yeah, yeah, he's a, it's like I'm not.
So I mean, did Lowtax know that you have like an insecurity about being called mental, and that's why you kind of like honed in on that? Is that what you're?
Oh yeah, oh for sure. Like, because it's like, man, I've put so much work into it, more work than I think most people put into anything. And
But I mean, you never. I mean, you really shouldn't drink with antipsychotics if you were putting in more. Okay, when you say an absolute like that, I put in more work into this than anyone has put into anything. That would
yeah,
definitely include not drinking with the medication.
that's true. Can't deny that.
Do you think
And
that
yeah,
you
that
behave differently when you drink every other day?
mm, no.
No.
Um, Rich and I would get into arguments, but I think it's simply because I had a harder time putting up with his shit. Um, and it's like, it's like, I mean, you're right. I can't argue with you. And you're right. That was a very hyperbolic, absolute of a statement. I guess, may I rephrase?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've put a lot, years, hours, days, weeks, months into getting a handle on my diagnoses. And uh, I was never good enough for Rich.
Is there anything that happened that he said or did when you knew him? Because I was going to ask at one point, um, at what point after, I suppose after you moved in 2020 when you started living with him more, um, did things become rocky? You know, what sort of early symptoms were there? What sort of problems did you guys have? Recurring fights, that kind of stuff that kind of indicated that there was a problem.
Um, I think the
That
big thing for
Sorry, not
Well,
to interrupt, but I just wanted to say, because my feeling with that is, I feel like if there was like an incident, like one just random physical incident, I don't think that kind of thing comes out of nowhere, right? So there's probably been
right.
like something that happened either that day or leading up to it that was probably noticeable in retrospect more.
Yeah, I mean, I was very much emotionally, mentally, verbally abused. His favorite thing would be to insult me and then say, "Oh, it's a joke. Don't you get jokes?" and which is so strange because he said that he was attracted to me because I'm funny, which is like, okay. Uh, but the big thing that I noticed over the course of the relationship is that I was the one putting all the effort into changing who I was to suit him. Whereas if I were to have offered him constructive criticism, he would get very aggressively defensive. And I would say, Rich, you're being defensive. I don't mean to attack you. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to offer feedback. And he's like, both of my exes use that word. Don't use that word. And I'm like,
Feedback.
no, defensive.
Oh, okay.
Um, and and he just hated the word defensive. And I was like, well, don't you think that if three separate people have said that you're defensive, that maybe you're a little defensive?
Yeah, I
and
can believe that. Besides like the vaping stuff, what other like kind of requirements did he have of you over time?
I was sometimes I would get sad in the evening due to some trauma that I experienced in childhood. So I was required to run every day at 5 p.m. Otherwise, I would be given the cold shoulder. I would get yelled at. Um, so running at 5 p.m. Let's see.
Sorry, I'm confused about how those two things link. Were you like prescribed exercise and he didn't want you to exercise at that time, or?
No, he was the one who prescribed me the exercise because he thought that it would stop me from being sad, which like ostensibly seems like a thoughtful thing, and I thought of that too. But if I missed a run, then that was a slight against him, and the statement was always, "You're not respecting my feelings," and that's all I ever did is respect Rich's feelings. I respected Rich's feelings more than I respected my own.
Out of
Um,
curiosity, because I know there's another person I know of. I wish I could remember her name. Oh, Aiden Paladin. She gained weight because she was on antipsychotics. So did he ever like bring up weight or anything? Is that because I'm not kind of linking the running into like the sadness. And the chat people in chat are talking about it too. I think that. I mean, are you like? Did he bring up weight? Is that why he wanted you to run?
no, I even asked him a few times. I was like, "Hey, Rich, should I lose some weight?" And he's like,
Well,
"Nah."
of course he's gonna say no if you ask him.
Oh, well,
That's a guy thing. You can't say yeah. I think you're getting a little bit fat. You got to go run. That's a bomb you're setting off.
well, learn something new every day, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious because I was wondering. And yeah, I can't think of anything unless there's more you wanted to say. In particular, again, I'm really interested in hearing about his relationship with his mom because that's like the weirdest thing.
Um, it's just just think of a helicopter mom. She's a helicopter mom. He, uh, if he didn't have her, then he would be like, I don't know where he'd be. He needs her in order to like live this lifestyle that he's become accustomed to. um I guess I want to say to both Goons and Kiwi Farms and Something Sensitive, if you're out there, here's a call out, here's a shout out. um you know you can hate me, um I don't know if this podcast has changed your opinion of me at all, but I think that what I want to say is that I'm a 26-year-old woman who has made a lot of bad decisions. And I don't think a lot of people know what it's like to be scrutinized as closely as I've been. And I, even after all these months, I still struggle with understanding it. And maybe someday it'll make sense. But I hope that some of you at least can exercise some empathy, that I accidentally fell into this situation. I never would have chosen it. I wish that Rich's life had been ruined. That was never something I wanted. And I also want to say that how I treated his exes when I was his narcissistic supply, I feel like a monster about that, because I bought every lie he sold. And I called his ex-wife a dumb cunt on Facebook after she had fled to a domestic violence shelter and stayed there from my understanding to this day, I don't know. But it'll take a long time for me to forgive myself for that. And it'll take a long time for me to recover from even being part of this. Like, before all this, I didn't know what Kiwi Farms was. And to this day, I wish I had not friended Rich Kayanka on Facebook. Like, if only that had never happened, then so it's like, I guess I'm just begging for empathy, if you have any to spare.
Out of curiosity, because that's kind of like a general message to, I guess, something awful and broader people, a broader community that might hear about this. I'm curious if you think that the backlash towards Rich is specifically your case, your instance with him, your claims against him, or just sort of like a buildup of tension and being done with Rich, or something else. I'm curious what your take is of what triggered because if people don't know, he had a Patreon, I think, of about, was it $8,000 at that time?
Yeah.
Or was it $8,000? And it's probably the fastest decline of a Patreon I've ever seen. It hit it was like less than 2,000, less than a week. It really did just completely deflate. I'm curious, again, if you think that that's because of you and your testimony and experiences specifically, or something that he did, or just like a culmination of being fed up with him.
Well, first of all, he has a number of police reports from being accused of domestic violence from 2 other women besides myself, that a lot of people didn't know about. And I don't know, for some reason, I have no idea why my story made a difference, because a lot of people didn't believe Lady Ambien. Kiwi Farms did, which is like, I actually posted last night. I was like, the fact that you guys spread my story, because Jake P, he got permabanned for being a Kiwi. If you're not familiar, Jake P started the Yikesaroo thread that went up to over 1,000 pages.
Oh, did they ban him because he posted on the forum? I didn't even know that.
He's perma. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't know why I was the straw that broke the camel's back, because people didn't believe Lady Ambien. People didn't even know about the accusations from his first wife. And I don't know why. Maybe it was because I had very publicly made an ass of myself, and people knew that I was a very dumb young broad. And I guess that was a source of a lot of entertainment. And I guess I was a little more community facing.
Yeah,
But
I was thinking that's probably it. Is the fact that he presented you kind of as under unusual circumstances at a time he was having issues with his wife, and they might
yeah.
have just accepted that. But then, like how many months later, 8 months later, it kind of all topples over, and they're just like, ah, fuck this guy.
Well, also he really bungled the whole situation with
Response,
FYD.
yeah. Oh,
You
that's
know
right,
it.
yeah. So, for people who don't know, fuck FYO. I'm confusing it. I'm confusing it with FIAD, aren't I?
Oh, I just say it FYD. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fuck you and die.
Fuck you and die. I thought you said FYOB. No,
No.
FYAD. Fuck you and die was like a introspective board where people would take shots at something awful, and a lot of people didn't like that, particularly the boards that had a lot of trans posters, because they believed that it was a transphobic board, and they were making fun of them for being trans and stuff like that. And I think Lowtax, was it Lowtax that just deleted the board at the request of mods, or what?
Yeah.
They just said delete this board, and he's like, okay.
Well, I mean, it was a couple of a day ordeal. I remember it pretty vividly. Like it pissed him off something fierce because he didn't like having to deal with that. But when he tried to, I guess he tried to put out the fire and couldn't do it. So he was like, all right, I'm just gonna get rid of the board. And that, I think that was a lot of people on both sides of that issue felt that it was poorly handled. And people haven't liked Lowtax for a long time. Like he, on the forums, they are recounting countless stories of interactions with Lowtax that, kind of, he may not have been the nicest person. And, I don't think it's entirely my fault, but I do feel a lot of, I feel a lot of guilt. And
for what? Just for the lack of, the Patreon falling and the downturn, or?
I mean, he's told me that I've talked to him on the phone, and he was bawling, saying, "You've ruined my life."
Is he crying on the phone?
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah. And, I have a lot of empathy for that. I mean, the guy abused me for months, but I did love him.
Would you say that he loved you at any point, or do you think that it was like a facade the entire time?
I don't think Rich Kayanka can love anybody but himself.
Okay then. I think that's all I got. Unless there's something that you want to add, you did your whole your statement towards something awful and people listening. Any other information you think people should go away with?
I mean, I guess not. I hope this was informative. I suspect I'll probably get even more hate now, but it was nice to talk to you, Josh. I appreciate you reaching out.
Well, thank you. I thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And one final question, just for comedic relief: did he ever share with you the cookies and pies from Goldbelly? People are asking. No, you never had one.
No, I said yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Thank God.
Yeah, I had a few. I like chocolate. So one time he bought these massive cookies. I'm talking like a foot around, like a foot diameter, foot radius. There we go. Foot diameter. There we go. Sorry, I'm a little frazzled. after this conversation. And they called them like monster cookies or something, and it was this chocolate cookie. I could not finish it. Never in my life have I ever thought that there would be too much chocolate, but in that moment, there was too much chocolate.
That's a pretty sweet story. Sitting around eating cookies together.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
suppose on the couch, because in my mental image, it's always Lowtax is on the couch eating
Well,
off his belly like an otter.
he lays in bed, but some of my best memories are he has this killer Plex server. Like, if you can get on that Plex server, it's great because he loves really weird movies like Hong Kong martial arts films from the 80s, bad 80s movies in general. Uh, and we would just watch these things and, riff back and forth, almost like our own like private riff tracks kind of thing. And it was so much fun. It was a blast.
All right, I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'll see you on the forums.
You're gonna go right back. You're gonna answer some questions there.
I don't know. I got
Might
whatever.
be best to
Well,
sleep it
well,
over first.
yeah. Well, all right. Take care.
Yep. Take it easy. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess she hung up first. Usually you talk to people a little bit afterwards, but whatever. Sorry for my absence, everyone. I'm sorry. I've been cast into oblivion. The immigration authorities the world over have very specifically decided that I am going to be stuck in Serbia for the rest of my natural life. So I just got to find a fucking stable internet connection and tough it out. So I apologize for the absence. And I'll see you next time. Take it easy.